Hey everyone, the name is Eric Thor, and in today's video allow me to show you where in the world you can find the most intuitives, and not just intuitives. Where can you find the feelers, where can you find the thinkers, and where can you find the sensors? Because I found that there is a kind of algorithm you can follow to understand that certain types have come to live more in certain areas. And I'm not saying here that there is a country that only has a certain amount of personality types. No, on the contrary, I think that it's just the case that certain types tend to favor certain areas. What I found is that intuitives tend to perform better in low densely populated areas, like more areas where there are fewer people, where there is less sun and exposure from the sun, where there is more darkness, where it's more quiet, where you can have more privacy, and where you can have more peace and solace. Often intuitives are the types that prefer to live further away from the big cities, where they can gather their thoughts, their mind, imagine, dream, and envision. Most intuitives mention that when they go to areas that have less people in them, they feel a higher amount of satisfaction in life, a higher amount of energy and curiosity. It really helps their mind, it really helps them think, it really helps them gather perspective and insight about life. And that's also why a lot of people who pursue intuitive enlightenment in many ways prefer to retreat into kind of monasteries or places where they can focus on reflection. It's true that extroverts favor areas where there is a lot of activity and things to do. And it's true that introverts favor having a little more time to wait, to see, to test, to carefully outline a procedure. But it's generally true that an intuitive, regardless if extrovert or not, is going to have a better time in an area where there is at least a lot of stuff to do, but in the same sense there is a lot of time for privacy and for times to check out. If you don't have that time as an intuitive extrovert, if even at your home you feel like there is too much going on and too much happening, too much immediate pressing stuff, sirens, whatever, then you're gonna have a bad time. And of course this means the opposite for the sensing types. You'll find the most amount of sensors in big cities and in big areas with a lot of people. Consider like a big state where there are people everywhere. Consider a place where there is a lot of sunshine, where there is a lot of daylight, where you can have a lot of things happening. Overall, a sensor prefers the experience of thrill, immediacy, attention, activity, and stimulation. Sensor wants to have things to touch, feel, taste, smell. They want to have an environment that always offers them some information to hold, to touch, to feel in concrete terms. So that leaves the feeling and the thinking types. Is there a rule of where you can find more feelers or where you can find more thinkers? I think that in general, when you look at it from the world, you can see that there are areas in the world where culture tends to predominate compared to areas where business and industry tends to predominate. Think, for example, Germany, Scandinavia, China, or Japan. Areas where industry is booming, where tech is booming, where there is a lot of work to be done, where there are systems for everything, where there are strong procedures, bureaucracy, well-developed bureaucracy, I should say, and where there are formal events and activities that go on, where there is a lot of organizations and where there are a lot of unions or whatever kind of business organization or whatever. Basically there needs to be a place with more formal gatherings. So if you look at it on the map, there is also areas where culture tends to dominate. Think India, where there are like 21 holidays. Think places like the US with Hollywood, with all the cultural influence of the American system. Think of Walt Disney. Think of where culture tends to emerge from. Think of the media. Think of literature. Think of art. A lot of time the countries that have the most amount of cultural influence tend to have the most amount of feelers. And this is clearly the case with, for example, the US, France, and India. Places like these tend to attract a high amount of feelers, and feelers love these gatherings where there are lots of events, festivals, social occasions, rituals, and perhaps also strong religious influence in many ways, because spirituality becomes a stronger need for a feeling type. It's also true that overall a feeling type is more likely to engage in dreaming, where a thinking type prefers to have focus, and where a thinking type prefers to have clearly defined settings and boundaries in the world. So this implies that a feeling type will generally be more commonly found in a place in the world where there is a lot of nature, parks, and recreational activities. A lot of time a thinker will prefer areas where there is a lot of challenges, sports, events, things that offer the competitive element. You'll want to look for places that have, in general, a higher amount of qualitative entertainment for a feeling type, or quantitative entertainment for a thinking type. It's all a part of also where the most resources in the world are. Where can you find the most resources, the most industries, the most business, compared to where can you find the most amount of art, or where can you find places with a high amount of culture? Like, think, for example, the division in the Europe between Protestantism and Catholicism. In many ways, Catholicism celebrated art, celebrated quality, celebrated music, and had like a higher focus on gold, wealth, and kind of more recreative elements, where in many ways Protestant nations were more focused on work, labor, duty, and efficiency. There has basically emerged thinking religions compared to feeling religions in the world. And I find that if you look at it on the map, you can learn a lot about people, you can learn a lot about where people tend to be and where you tend to have the most fun, depending on which personality type you are. So look at the map again and think about who you are, and think about where you prefer to live. Where in the world do you think you would be the happiest? That is my question for today, and I hope you enjoyed this highly speculative video. To be honest, I still want to do a lot more research before I say anything conclusive on this state. So let's move on to the next topic, and I hope to see you guys in the next video to be published tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and may your neurons be with you.